Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Cinesmacketeers. This is Mike, and I just wanted to drop you all a line before the episode gets started to apologize. I am so sorry that this is coming to you a month late. We have had a lot of stuff come up in the past few weeks. Our monkey, our announcer, had fallen ill. He lost his voice. It was not COVID. And he lost his voice for quite a few days and was unable to record and or able to record something that he felt was good enough to give to us. I have had an embarrassment of opportunity to do a lot of TV and film production here recently, and I find it very difficult to turn it down. So both those reasons are why this is coming to you so late. Thank you. Thank you for constantly refreshing the feed. Thank you for checking in on us. Everyone's great. Everyone's doing fine. And deepest apologies. Please enjoy fight number 126. Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping versus This Is Spinal Tap.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 126 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Equal Rights.
You see, these go to 11. One louder.
We didn't even get past the first introduction. I was waiting to see who was going to quote it first. Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom Sex Farm Haggis.
Hey, funny line from one of these movies. See, that's be improv, that's the key to a good mockumentary.
Third, writer, actor, and director, Kyle Donkey Roll Fine.
Hey, I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek at my new Tinder profile. I like to kick it. I'm a karate guy. Kia.
Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Andrew Cups and Cakes Zumwalt.
My fans and me, we're in love. My songs are love letters, and the arena is our bedroom. The stage is where we fuck.
All right. Let's poke the monkey, find out what we're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, boy banders and hard rockers, welcome to the main event. Tonight, it's a battle of the bands as two mockumentaries take the stage in a melee of musical mayhem. In the first quarter, from 2016, written by Andy Samberg, Akiva Schaffer, and Yorma Taccone. Directed by Akiva Schaffer and Yorma Taccone. Starring Andy Samberg, Yorma Taccone, and Akiva Schaefer. Popstar. Never stop, never stopping. In the second quarter from 1984, written by Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. Directed by Rob Reiner. Starring Rob Reiner, Michael McKean, and Christopher Guest. This is Spinal Tap!
So this is the first time I have watched Popstar. This may be like the third or fourth time that I watched This Is Spinal Tap. And I didn't see This Is Spinal Tap until, what was it, like 94? I think it was radio and TV class. Blew me away. I didn't know you could do stuff like that. And I went out and bought their album right after that, which is ridiculous. Because I loved it. But you're talking to a Weird Al Yankovic fan, so love parody stuff.
Hear, hear.
Let's move on to our first round, which is writing.
We talked about when we're doing documentaries that the writing sometimes we attribute to the editor because, you know, you're taking all of this kind of raw footage and then piecing the story together from that. And so the editor kind of becomes the writer. What's really kind of interesting about these mockumentaries is I feel like, and they're credited this way, but the actors are the writers. You know, they're the ones that write the jokes. I like mockumentaries and I find them like to be very interesting, and it's one of those things where you kind of wish you could see behind the scenes on the set about, and all of the stuff that we didn't make it into the final cut. I mean, there must be tons of great gold stuff out there, but a lot of times we're just left with what is actually winds up in the movie. And so to that effect, in the same way, documentaries, the editors are the writers. But the jokes, you know, it's you know, I feel like this is going to be kind of a tough thing to compare, because without Spinal Tap, there wouldn't be a Popstar. I mean, Popstar really is, you know, the Spinal Tap of 2016 in a lot of ways. I mean, the stories are very parallel, and I feel though that Popstar actually has, this is unbelievable, Popstar has a better story, that there's actually like a graphable story that you can see in there in terms of, you know, the, if you want to call it, the growth of the characters and that kind of thing. Whereas Spinal Tap, I know I've used the phrase like the movie Stepmom is like the series of just funny scene, and Spinal Tap seems to have that, where it's kind of one funny scene after another, and it's just basically kind of the downward trajectory of the band, you know, until the end. And there's not like a flowing through story the way there is in Popstar. I think the other thing I would credit Popstar with is that after Spinal Tap, that anybody would try to do a movie like Popstar, because invariably, you know, assholes are going to want to compare. Assholes are going to want to make podcasts and compare the two. Like, you're just, you know, you're kind of setting yourself up for that. But I think as far as the story goes, I think Popstar's the better movie, and you know, there are some really good jokes. But I mean, you have to credit Spinal Tap because it was one of the first ones to, you know, mainstream the genre.
I can't say in the 80s though that they were expecting a podcast to compare a movie to itself.
No. Did I misspeak? What I meant was that when they made Popstar, they must have known that people were going to compare it to This Is Spinal Tap. Like, you know, that people were going to, you know, they obviously looked up to Spinal Tap and used it for some inspiration, and for them to be like, we can do this. We're good enough that we can make our own Spinal Tap. And to a large degree, I mean, it's a very funny, entertaining movie, and it's way better than it deserves, than it has any right to be.
Yeah, I guess I would look at, between the two of them, it felt that there was actually a writing that happened for Popstar to get it where it is, whereas Spinal Tap felt very much where we had a story, but we kind of did it like Airplane, where we just kind of did the gags and they were funny, and then we moved on and we threw it all together to make it coherent. It felt less of actually written work. And I know that's kind of what you said, Tom, so I'm not trying to reiterate that. It's just, I've watched both of these movies multiple times. Spinal Tap more because it's older, but it always had that sense of, I don't know, almost a Saturday Night Live kind of sketch where it was, here's the scene, go. So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely felt more ad-libbed than Popstar. I'm sure there was plenty of ad-libbing in Popstar, but
oh, sure.
But it seemed like that was the whole premise of This Is Spinal Tap. So they kind of had a somewhat of an outline of a story, and they just let the actors kind of do their thing. And then, like Tom said, the editor came in and kind of turned it into a coherent story. When I got done watching both of them, I'm like, these are basically the same movie. They are essentially the same idea. Just one had, like hair band, heavy metal music, and the other one had kind of pop music with it. But it's essentially the same idea. And I think they're executed differently, but they're both executed pretty well. And I agree with Andrew that Popstar seemed a little bit more written. Like more of it was probably written down, and more there was more of a framework there, and so it seemed more kind of like a cohesive story throughout.
Like I think there were some fun. I think there were like jokes, like when they're describing the record album that they want to do, and he's talking, and she's like, it's a naked woman on all fours with a collar and a leash, and then there's a black glove, like she's gonna sniff it, and he's like, well, it originally wasn't a glove. Like, I think there are moments like that I think the joke was written, and it was how they delivered it, I think, was less of, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and that was all ad-libbed, and they just kind of went with it, and it was kind of funny. But I think there are parts, that's where I say it kind of felt Saturday Night Live-y, where it's like there were jokes written, and how they did them, performed them, is what made it interesting and funny.
Yeah, I agree with you guys and your sentiments about the movies. I think Spinal Tap had, I don't know if you'd call it a disadvantage, but overall, being the first of its kind and being so heavily improvised, I think Popstar took the formula that they laid down, and I think saying improved upon it may be a bit strong, but they made it into a more cohesive story, and I think set it up better. There's more meat on the bones, if you will. But as far as talking about comedy movies, you're talking about as far as memorable jokes and joke structure and things like that. Spinal Tap is one of the movies with the most, in my opinion, memorable, repeatable jokes that even people who haven't seen the movie know, which I think is crazy. It's in the zeitgeist even for people who aren't documentary or mockumentary fans, or however you want to put it. But yeah, Popstar gets a lot of its influence and its chutzpah from Spinal Tap. But I don't want to take anything away from it, because I think it's an incredibly funny movie that is really well crafted from the comedy standpoint. And I love Lonely Island. I'm not shy about my love for them, but I think both these movies are it's hard, because I really love mockumentaries, and I think without Christopher Guest and Rob Reiner and the people involved in Spinal Tap, it's a thing we might not still have. So I have a lot of love for Spinal Tap, and I think it's hilarious. The gags they come up with, the physical gags are great, pulled off in the movie. Stonehenge getting trapped inside the eggs on the stage. That shit is, I mean, it's so good. It's so funny. And
and obviously,
it's so good.
Obviously, parts of that were very well planned out, because it had to be like where he gets trapped in the bassist gets trapped in that egg thing, and then he only gets out right at the end of the song and tries to go back in. That was obviously that was clearly scripted and planned. And
that poor stagehand. The one scene where the bassist like lays down and he's dragging him in a circle to make it look like he's doing stuff, and then he helps him back up. Like, that's hilarious. That poor stagehand. I'm like, oh my God, how much are they paying this dude?
And I feel like one of the instances where there's like structure but ad-libbing on top of that structure is when they talk about, they know that they've gone through a whole bunch of drummers over time, but I feel like they're ad-libbing on how those drummers died, because it seemed like they were kind of riffing off of each other, like one was like, there was this flash of green light, and then he's like, all that was left was a little blob, kind of a stain on the seat, and it felt like, okay, we have the structure of, we've gone through a whole bunch of drummers who have died mysteriously,
go
just kind of, I'm not going to tell you how or why, just go with it, and so that's where I feel like there's that kind of like a little bit of structure that they ad-lib on top of.
I would agree with that.
Very fun.
Yeah, and Christopher and Michael McKean and Harry Shure. I mean, those three have worked together so long that they can build off each other. That I'm fairly convinced the Long Way Home song, they just made that up in the moment.
They were sitting there in the, like, it was like almost in the mall food court or something, and they talked about a song they had written as kids. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. That one, it just, and here's the thing too, and this actually probably belongs in the next category. If that wasn't like a first take and the first time they had done it, then they acted that so well that it was believable that it was believable enough that they had made it on a first take, that they fooled me for the last 25 years that was original. I mean, you have to credit that. If it was faked or not, there's some gold there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I know we're out of time, but we should definitely hit up a little bit of the fact that, and we don't have to do it in this category. We can move it to the next, or another one, possibly overall. But I mean, we have to do some accreditation to the fact that these songs were specifically written for this type of mockumentary. So I think that partly goes into the writing in general for both movies.
True.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That kind of falls in between our categories. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously they're written for these movies, but yeah.
All right, let's put it to a vote, Tom.
I gotta give writing to Popstar.
All right. Kyle.
Popstar.
Gabe.
Yeah, I think it's based on This Is Spinal Tap, but I think Popstar was actually better written. So I'll give it to Popstar as well.
All right. Andrew?
Popstar. We're never stopping.
Never stop, never stopping.
Never stop, never stopping. Harry Schreier, Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, and Michael McKean were given $10,000 to write a script. They made a 20-minute version of the film to better demonstrate the improvisation they had in mind. Several scenes from the demo are in the finished movie. Several of the songs, including Bin Laden, Mona Lisa, Owen's Beat, and Incredible Thoughts, feature Greg Kurstin as writer and or producer. In 2017, Kurstin won the Grammy for Producer of the Year as well as Song of the Year and Record of the Year for co-writing Hello with Adele.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The fact that
seems very different.
in Lawton's song where the line is that she told me to terrorize this pussy. Who puts that in a song?
All right.
Oh my God.
Let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Boy, howdy. The talent involved in This Is Spinal Tap is really notable, I think is the word. It's a who's who of talented improvisational comics with Michael McKean and Christopher Guest. Fred Willard makes an appearance. Harry Shearer. These people are the top, 5% talented improvisers, maybe that have ever been on TV. And one of my absolute favorite characters or actors from my youth is falling in love with Michael McKean as Mr. Green from Clue. I thought they were absolutely fabulous. And I have nothing but praise to give for the acting in Spinal Tap, with the exception of the girlfriend, who I thought was not quite as sharp and up with the rest of them, but I don't think she is a trained comedian like they are. But man, and the cameos that are involved in the movie are insane. Some of the people you see, I had to stop and think, is that Dana Carvey? Is that Billy Crystal? Is that Angelica Houston? Like, it's nuts, the people who show up. And I love the opening with Rob Reiner playing a character. He's not playing himself, which I think is going to be incredible. I think that's so funny that they even get him in on it, to play an alternate version of his character. Man, yeah, so great. And the acting in Popstar is, I suppose you could say it's maybe not as strong just because of but I think that's more goes to the huge amount of talent involved in Spinal Tap rather than being to the detriment of Popstar. So I think it kind of pales in comparison a little bit, but I think that's just because of how strong Spinal Tap is. I'm an unabashed fan of The Lonely Island. I absolutely love them. I love Andy Samberg. I like all of them. And I think if you're going pound for pound for music and performances, I liked the musical performances maybe slightly better in Popstar. But the acting in both of them is great, whether it's scripted or improvised. It's really fun. They're both really fun movies.
Yeah, there's quite a few cameos, especially from other musical artists and that kind of thing in Popstar as well.
Oh yeah,
I mean these movies are just chock full of cameos, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And it's so weird to see like Billy Crystal like basically have one line in a movie like that, mime is money or whatever he says. Oh, it's like wow, Billy Crystal, I guess I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't know like where his career was at that time, but it just seems like so weird to have him in for such a small piece. And then even like Fran Drescher, I was like, wow, that's her. I thought, I don't know, I guess maybe I thought she was younger or something. Like she wouldn't be old enough to be in that. And just the people in these movies and the cameos are just really incredible. But I think you're right, Kyle. The improvisation skills are just unmatched. And like Tom said in the previous round, it would be really awesome to see some of the outtakes and some of the other things that they came up with, some of the things that didn't quite make the cut in the movie, because they're probably excellent as well. So yeah, I think it's hard. You set yourself up like we said before. If you're trying to do something like Popstar, you're really setting yourself up against a crew of really great comedians. So that's a tough thing to do.
Do you think some of the outtakes were during the credits of Spinal Tap?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
See, but then there's a thing. So like I'll watch a movie, and I've actually gotten to the point where I won't watch deleted scenes anymore if I really like a movie, because then for every time I watch the movie, I get to that point and there's like this little gap where I get pulled out of it and I'm reminded of that scene that they took out, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so it's just like, if this is the movie that they're delivering, this is the movie I'm going to live with. The deleted scenes, I don't feel, if you want to do a director's cut and like put the movie together in a different way, I get that. But I don't know. That has nothing to do with acting, though. I
will straight up watch a 3-hour Spinal Tap. I don't give a shit. I would love it.
But see, now that's I think that's one reason why Popstar won the last round, is that you could just dump a bunch of extra scenes in Spinal Tap and it would be absolutely hilarious, but the story wouldn't really go anywhere. I'd watch them too. I'd watch them all over, but. I love Paul Schaefer in Spinal Tap too. I love.
I forgot about him. Holy shit!
God, he is so.
Oh my god! Yeah, he made me laugh out loud. He's like, "Do me a favor, just kick this ass. Just kick this ass." Oh my god, dude, that was unreal.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I mean, and then I guess if you talk about the three main actors in each of the movies. It's really hard because I don't think anybody does it better than Gesher and McKean. They're phenomenal. They're the gold standard. And the fact that they've done, how many have they done? Like 7 movies now. They find these little subcultures, and they're able to put these stories together in these great, really funny mockumentaries, whether it's community theater or dog shows, and it's folk music. I always look forward to their movies coming out. But and because of that, because they didn't just do a movie in the 80s and then stop doing it, that's even got to be harder for Lonely Island to move forward with Popstar, knowing that Christopher Guest wasn't something that happened 30 years ago. This is somebody who's still doing this now. So, still putting out fresh stuff. Christopher Guest could have put a movie together like Popstar with the right cast, but so that's really difficult. I don't know. I felt like the 3 Lonely Island guys had really good chemistry, but the 3 of them weren't together for a lot of the movie. And so it was really kind of Andy Samberg playing off all of the other extra characters, where in Spinal Tap you had like the 3 main guys played off each other for bulk of the movie. I would love to see a Lonely Island mockumentary where the 3 of them are together a lot longer, and you could see that chemistry they've been building since they started their group.
Yeah, the one thing I noted, we talked about all the cameos, and besides all of the big name stars that were actually in it, both movies felt like a Muppet movie. So the Muppet movies, this is my big comparison. The Muppet movies in the 70s was, you had cameos where you would have some random huge actor sitting on a park bench and who would say one line to Kermit the Frog, and that'd be it. And he wouldn't be in the rest of the movie. But you would sit there and go, oh my God, that's so-and-so. Oh my God, that's so-and-so. If you look at the actual list of all the actors in Spinal Tap that are A, playing themselves, and B, playing additional characters, and then on Popstar, the same thing. You look at all of the people that are A, playing themselves, and people that are playing kind of themselves, but they're going in as a pseudo character. I mean, the list is ginormous. Like, holy crap. I can't believe they got Mariah Carey to make fun of herself. Like, there is so much crazy amount of extras that they put. It was like they said, we're making this movie, who wants to be in it? And they had people knocking on the door, and they're like, all right, you can be in it. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Billy Crystal. Yeah, sure. Okay, great. You get this line. It was just, it's insane for both of these movies. So I always attribute these kind of movies to the Muppet movie. It's the Muppet movie of cameos. Yeah, I'm not going to rehash. Basically, I agree with pretty much everything everybody said. So, Andy Samberg is a very good comedian. He's a great writer when it comes to comedy. It, as we said before, was much more of a movie versus having more of an improvisational, fun story with comedians acting off of themselves, and each other. So, peace, Mike.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
This is how you do an ensemble comedy movie.
Yeah.
Like, they're really good at it. Like, they improvise so well off each other. It's really, you can tell that they've all trained and also worked with each other a bunch, because they are incredibly sharp and funny and can almost read each other's minds. When Christopher Guest and Michael McKean are together, it's, you wouldn't know it's not scripted, right? It's so tight, and I'm sure they just use the stuff that's the best, but it's so tight, and the improv is so good that it's it really I think it really helps the believability too, that they're not stammering or anything like that. Like, they're just rapid fire playing off each other, and I love that.
And I would say that all of us, well, at least I do. I have a couple of friends that they've known each other for years. They may not have acted for many years, but they're just really funny when they get going. They can riff off of each other. They sit there and they talk and go back. I'm talking about Jeremy and James, for those who know them. They can riff back and forth, and it's hilarious. And, they're not trained comical actors, but they're just damn funny. And so I think that probably has something to do with it too, that they probably are comfortable with each other. They're all funny actors in itself, and they're just good at playing off of each other regardless of even that. And I think that adds to some of that natural ability that you're talking about, Kyle.
Yeah, and the fact that they do it all in character too.
Yes.
They each kind of have their own character, and they're ad-libbing and riffing in that character, which is really quite fantastic.
Yes.
All right. Let's put it to a vote, fellas. Kyle.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I love Lonely Island, but I'm going to give this one to Spinal Tap.
All right. Gabe?
Yeah, I think no question for me, this is Spinal Tap.
All right. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm also going with Spinal Tap. It's just too damn... They're so good. It's just so mashed potatoes. Oh,
Tom. Mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go scallop potatoes, potato chips. I just real quick, my mic was off and I was trying to get in, but I think Tony Hendra, who plays the manager in Spinal Tap, gets huge credit for playing the straight against these three guys. My vote. My vote's for Spinal Tap as well.
What are you talking? Rob Reiner, the poor guy, has to sit there with a straight face like this was a normal, everyday thing, while these guys were saying some of the shit that came out of their mouths.
True.
I don't know how you can pull that off sometimes, and I'm sure there's great outtakes of him just be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I don't know how Rob Reiner keeps his shit together. I would not be able to.
There's a lot of biting of the inside of the mouth and biting of the tongue.
When he's explaining the amplifiers to 11, and he's like, "Why don't you just make 10 louder?" Well, it wouldn't go to 11 then. He's like, "Oh, right." How does he just like? He's just so calm and like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess." God.
All three of the Lonely Island members' wives make an appearance in the movie. Joanna Newsom as the purple-haired defibrillator operator, Marielle Heller as a member of Connor's documentary crew, and Liz Kakowski as the stage manager with whom Lawrence makes out with. Jorma's son, drumming baby, and brother, Asa Tacone, perform before Style Boys at the Poppies, also make an appearance. Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher of Oasis once went to see Spinal Tap play live. The three stars performed as their own opening act, the Folksmen, their characters from A Mighty Wind. Liam was bored with the folk music, so his brother explained that the Folksmen were played by the same actors, Liam became distraught as he realized Spinal Tap was not a real band.
Oh no.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
Fantastic.
So neither of them were real bands.
Correct.
Well,
I mean,
and
they
that
play
for
music.
Oasis, that goes for Oasis as well.
I mean,
not a real
they're
band.
a band in the fact that they're playing music together on a stage, but that is not their chosen career.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island, I mean, technically they're a band, but the song or the music or the movie isn't about the Lonely Island. They have a pseudo band's name.
Right.
But all the music they released for the movie is under the Lonely Island.
Yep. Yep. All right. Third round, directing.
And I think this falls into this directly relates to the other categories and how these are, the approaches to directing. And I think there's kind of a different approach to each. I feel like the approach for This Is Spinal Tap was just roll the cameras and see what we get. And we're going to get gold. We might get a little bit of, something else, a little bit of fool's gold in there every once in a while, but we're going to eventually get real gold, and then we're going to cut it together. And so that's scary if you think about it, especially in that time period where they were shooting on real film. And because you can't just that costs money to just roll film and hope you get something, and then it takes a little bit of faith too. Like, I hope we get something that we can put together at the end of this. And obviously there was some planning, there was some direction to it, because they had all those pieces which were kind of fun, where they were in older bands and they did different styles of music, and they did the kind of the 60s psychedelic style music video kind of thing. And so, that was very clearly planned out and prepared for, but a lot of the movie was like, oh, we're going to walk around with handheld film cameras and hope that we get footage that we can use for this movie. And that includes audio too, because but then the flip side of that is like, well, it's kind of a nice, it gives you a little bit of an out if something's a little bit out of focus, or something's not quite perfect, or you see a shadow or whatever. It's kind of like, well, it's like a documentary, it's supposed to be happening live. It gives you a little bit of an out. You don't have to be so perfect about it. But I think Popstar was the opposite. I feel like it was very, very planned. There was probably some ad-libbing in there, but it seemed very planned out, and it was very, it was very nice looking, and generally not a lot of kind of handheld style documentary type stuff that I usually associate with those kinds of movies. Because they showed them in concert all the time, and they had these huge concert setups, and so it seemed to me that it was more, more planned out, more directed in a certain sense than This Is Spinal Tap. But just think about the leap of faith you have to take to do something like This Is Spinal Tap. I give them credit for that.
Yeah, it's a bold movie to make. I think it helps if you're hip to it and realize how talented everyone involved is. It might make you feel a little bit better. But in a way, it's a really high-stakes version of a 48-hour film challenge where you're getting a bunch of people together and you're hoping it turns out. But there are some crazy talented people working on the movie, and they spun that uncertainty into gold. And I think it's a testament to its enjoyability that even my mom, who has no knowledge of Spinal Tap or, is not a comedy connoisseur or a heavy rock fan, absolutely loved This Is Spinal Tap because it's so damn entertaining, and the characters are so funny in it. And the way they shot the setups was very clever. They must have had ins and outs for the scenes. You know, this is how you start, this is how it ends. But cutting in between, I imagine cutting this movie would have been very difficult because you probably have 20 times as much as you need. You know, and you have to find the best bits and still create a narrative structure. So a lot of kudos goes to that. Lonely Island's production value and the way it looks, the huge setups, the big set pieces and stuff, I think are really impressive, especially for what is a mockumentary comedy movie. And I think it only costs like $20 million, which in 2016 is not that much when you think about how much money we're spending on some movies. And I know it's a comedy movie, but they had huge concert setups. They had a lot of stuff they put into it. And I thought they did really well bringing that to life. Yes, it is a lot less realistic feeling. And I think that has to do with less follow shots, less documentary style shots. It's staged like a movie. But if you watch modern documentaries, a lot of them are like that now. They've moved a lot more to that style. So I think that's a really a style change that's happened over time. But both these movies are really well directed. But I got to give huge credit to Spinal Tap for knowing what should go in and what shouldn't go out when you probably have an overabundance of good stuff you could pick from. And keeping a tight narrative, and the movie never feels long or boring or anything like that. And for a movie that's so much about the characters and the actors, you know, basically improvising and hamming it up on the screen, it doesn't feel self-indulgent. You obviously know these guys are self-centered and stuff, but it doesn't feel like the movie is being too indulgent in itself. And I think that's awesome. I think they did a really good job there.
You know, I don't know. You guys have said a lot of the stuff that I was going to mention, but you know, I mean, you mentioned the 40-hour film project, and Spinal Tap obviously comes off like more like that, where you just kind of let the cameras go and see what happens. And that if you have decent actors in front of the camera, it's kind of a solid way to make a good movie, especially a comedy. You know, it's kind of the same thing that Larry David does on Curb Your Enthusiasm. You know, they just kind of give you an in, give you an out, and just let the talented people do their thing, and just let the unexpected happen. And you know, the other thing too is the rise of improv theater and comedy training in the 60s and 70s just led to these genius people who are able to use their minds very quickly and their wit and be able to like craft stories and build off each other and create chemistry in the moment. And now we have, people like Andy Samberg. So it's not even just this movie is emulating This Is Spinal Tap, but the culture that made the people behind Spinal Tap is still kicking out these very talented comedians today. And, that's to be, respected, but I don't know. I guess so by that measure, like, how much directing did Rob Reiner do on the Spinal Tap? I mean, if you just, have the camera set up and, you run your wide shot and get your jokes, and then, you're like, oh, we're going to need cutaways to cover this and this and that kind of thing. Popstar seems to have a lot more complicated setups. I can't believe that movie was only $20 million. That's incredible. So,
yeah, considering what they've been spending on movies in the last 10 years, it's really nuts for the way it looks.
Yeah, and it really seems that, I feel like Andy Samberg cashed in a ton of favors to get this thing made. Like, and I don't mean favors in terms like stuff that people owed him, but people that wanted to work with him. And put this together and we're able to like see his vision. I think that's to be commended. So
it's the Muppet movie theory. He just wanted to be in the movie. They just
want to be a part of it. Yeah.
Come on. He dug Seal up from somewhere. So come on now.
And it's That's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, Judd Apatow built his stable of actors like that.
Right. Yep.
Rob Reiner did. I mean, how many people? I mean, you have Bruno Kirby and Billy Crystal are in this. Before When Harry Met Sally. The Marvel movies do it. So, you build that goodwill, and you promise actors that you're going to make a good product, and they want to work on it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it takes clout, and I would say that from the two, you have actors that people want to work with, and with Spinal Tap, I think it's not just the actors. You also have a director that people are like, yeah, I want to be in a movie that person makes, and so you end up with that following that not only want to be in a movie because it's being created by somebody talented, but also because of the talent that's in it. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Popstar, I think it was more of, we have this amazing, Andy Samberg has done so much comedy and so much writing for a ton of shows that are on TV that people probably don't even know that he helps write, and has done so many things for a lot of different actors. I'm sure there was just a bunch of them that were like, I'll be in a movie with Andy Samberg. That would be hilarious. So I think you have clout on kind of both sides of that fence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you my Rob Reiner story real quick. So in 2000, Rob Reiner and Martin Sheen came to Cedar Rapids doing a political event, and I wanted to get their autograph, but I wasn't sure what to get autographed. And then I realized that he directed American President, and Martin Sheen was in American President. So I ran around Cedar Rapids looking for the only DVD copy I could find, and I got it. And so then I went to the event, and I had my silver marker and my DVD, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Reiner, nice to meet you." He's like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And he signs it, and he goes, "Hey, American President, did you know Martin Sheen is in this?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "He's right there." like he thought it was a total coincidence that I had him sign the movie and that I picked the one movie.
That's your favorite Rob Reiner movie?
Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, like I think he's here. I think he's around here." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure you guys came together," but and I was like, that's I didn't know what to say.
Oh
so
my God.
It was very cool.
That sounds very Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
He's looking out for you, man.
I should, looking back on it, a Rob Reiner signed copy of This Is Spinal Tap. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, yeah. I may have missed the opportunity on that one.
You guys, one of the things I was going to mention with you guys had mentioned, a lot of extra and kind of roll the shot and we'll get gold eventually. One of the greatest comedic filmmakers, the Zucker brothers, they would talk about when they would shoot films such as like Airplane, they would have enough film in stock to actually produce 2 movies. So they could capture all of the extra, as you would say, so they could right. And back in the 70s and 80s, that's a lot of canisters. Like that's not a
canisters.
Yeah, that's a lot of film.
Yeah.
2 full movies.
Yep.
I'd watch a 4-hour Airplane. I do not have a problem with this. But I bet a lot of people would be bored shitless, but I would love it.
All right, let's put it to a vote. Gabe.
This is a tough one because I think they're both well directed, but very different styles. I'm going to go with This Is Spinal Tap because I felt like it was risky, and Rob Reiner trusting his actors and being able to select the best pieces and put it together into a cohesive movie really wins my vote.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, this one's really tough for me. I think I'm going to go with Popstar on this one, just by a hair.
All right. Tom? You're muted, Tom.
No, I'm thinking. I think I'm going to go... Does anyone buy that? I think I'm going to go with... gosh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Popstar just because it really exceeded expectations. It was way funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And I think directing is a lot part of that.
All right. Kyle.
Yeah, Tom swayed me over to Popstar.
Right. I think this might be a deciding category. Actually.
Yeah. By the way, I love Hot Rod. So I was really looking forward to seeing this. Which,
one of my friends really loves Hot Rod too.
God, it is. Amanda rolls her eyes whenever I'm watching it. It is totally a guy movie. None of the 3 lead actors are English in This Is Spinal Tap. However, Christopher Guest is the 5th Baron Hayden Guest by right of hereditary British peerage.
Say that again. What?
No, he's a baron. He's
Can you imagine
baron.
Announcing him when he comes to dinner with all that?
Yeah. There's not a whole lot for directing for Popstar, but I found it interesting because I kept wondering where they got all the concert shots. But most of the shots of the large crowds were footage from One Direction concerts.
Really?
Yes.
That's
why it didn't cost so much damn money.
Yeah.
Smart.
Because One Direction was like,
smart.
oh yeah, you
so
can
do you think do you think this was like almost kind of like stock footage, or do you think they actually said, we're making this movie, we're going to go to a One Direction concert and shoot some of this?
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be stock footage if they shot it at a One Direction, because I'm sure they didn't pay for it.
Well, no, they could have paid for it. They could have had the okay. Yeah, they could have just been like, hey, we're shooting a film. We need, go ahead. Someone,
my
they knew
joke
someone.
Fell like a
buy a ticket.
Yeah, buy a ticket. Yep.
Yeah, buy a ticket. There you go. See, now you're playing off of me.
Where are you going with that big area Alexa? This is my selfie camera.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the new cell phone.
Yeah.
All right. 4th and final round overall.
So we're going to talk a little bit about music. I first want to point out, at least this is something that I noticed that was, I guess, different between the two. And let me preface this by saying, I believe that without Spinal Tap, there would not have been mockumentaries as we know it. I believe that Spinal Tap opened up a genre that was lesser known and lesser seen, and people went, oh my God, we can make a movie like this and it will be amazing. I'm sure people have tried and failed. But there are mockumentaries out there that I'm sure are fantastic. I have seen short mockumentaries that people have done that are funny, and I would definitely, and correct me, I don't know every movie out there, but it just, I've always noted Spinal Tap as being that first primal mockumentary that really kind of launched that genre out for us. With that being said, I guess from my perspective, it felt very much like Spinal Tap was kind of a fourth wall movie. In other words, it felt like a movie that was shooting a mockumentary. So instead of actually being a mockumentary, it felt like a very much a movie that was shooting, or a movie about people shooting a documentary, aka mockumentary. Oh, Mike?
I have an answer for this.
Okay.
Some people say that it goes back to Louis Buñuel's 1933 movie Land Without Bread.
Oh, yeah, that's more. Yeah.
Yeah, but the first actual considered mockumentary is directed by Albert Brooks, who also co-authored the screenplay. It is a spoof of the 1973 reality television program An American Family, and portrays a documentary filmmaker named Albert Brooks who attempts to live with and film a dysfunctional family for one full year.
Huh. Okay. Well, there you go. There's your answer. And another film recommendation for us.
Yeah. Land Without Bread is an interesting film. because it comes off as it's kind of a documentary style type thing that comes off as very serious, but just these ridiculous things happen in it, and you're like, what? I don't know. I'd have a hard time calling it a mockumentary, but yeah, that's an interesting one to look at. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No,
I digress.
No. It kind of felt like Spinal Tap was more of, because and I noted this when like Rob Reiner is interviewing the band at the very beginning, and they're all sitting there, but and it's definitely they're shooting a director who is creating a documentary, which that's why I said that's like, it feels like a fourth wall movie about a documentary, which makes it a mockumentary movie. But they're in that moment, he's interviewing them, and they actually do real cuts. Like they're doing cuts, they do close-ups, they pan, they're actually introducing them as characters, whereas Popstar is more like they actually shot a behind the music with this fake band. And it is actually, the interviews are very traditional of the Big Brother or the Real World type thing, where they're sitting there talking to the camera directly. And it feels more like a direct documentary versus a movie about people making a documentary. So, and that was just a perspective, and I think that's interesting. It doesn't make me like the movies one way or another. It was just more of an observation. And you guys can definitely come back and we can jump in on that as much as you want, but I definitely want to talk a little bit about music. We've talked so much about like editing and stuff like that, so I don't want to rehash that. Music is definitely a big part of both of these movies. Spinal Tap, the writing of some of that music is just holy crap. Like musically, the music is actually pretty good for an 80s rock band. Like there's good chord progression, there's nice harmonies. There's actually good musical presence going on with some of the songs. And then you get to the lyrics, and the lyrics are just this over the top 80s rock, death metal kind of lyrics, but they're not, and they're just sometimes just completely vulgar to be vulgar, and it's absolutely hilarious, don't get me wrong, but it's just, and then you switch over to Lonely Island type music, and it's pop music that is very much the same. Like they have contextual things. We talked about the Bin Laden song, like holy crap. and they add so much extra to not only the lyrics, which, by the way, some of the songs are completely ridiculous. The catchphrase song, for instance, is just a bunch of catchphrases in a song with a beat behind it and makes no sense whatsoever, but is hilarious. And, even at the very, very end, when they do the donkey roll and Incredible Thoughts is just, I mean, holy crap, Michael Bolton. And that's not the first time that Michael Bolton has worked with that group. He has done other songs with them, but their comedy just extends over really well, again, into well-written music that is just so bizarre and so out there that it's almost fantastical. So I would say that the comparison between the music, like that is almost a tie. Like they are so well done, and the lyrics are so similar in the sense of just kind of out there. And I felt that was a really cool comparison to see that it's basically the same music. It's just a different genre of music. And the fact that you have the story.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say the story of people who actually thought Spinal Tap was real. Like, cracks my shit up.
Well, I mean, there are comedians playing a role, but it's... Yeah. I think they are a real band. Like they are producing and playing their music.
Sure.
And they're incredibly talented. There's this weird crossover between comedy and music. I don't know how many comedy podcasts you guys listen to, but it seems like a lot of musicians and comedians are fans and friends. And all comedians want to be musicians, and all musicians want to be comedians. It's really strange. And so you see these guys who are blending the two of them. I mean, we talked about Weird Al a bit earlier. I mean, Weird Al is really funny as a parody artist, but I think some of the songs like Spinal Tap Right, Lonely Island Right, they're so much more than just like parody songs. They're actual full-fledged songs with choruses, verses, hooks. They're originals, and in Lonely Island's case, they border on, absurdity. They're what you would like consider absurdist comedy. And but the lyrics in Spinal Tap, I found myself really listening to the lyrics of the songs, and I can't remember the name of the song, but the song about girls with big bottoms has
girl.
My favorite collection of call and responses about the bigger the waistband, the deeper the quicksand. Holy shit, that stuff is unreal.
Girls got them.
Yeah, it's so goddamn funny. It's incredible. The music in these movies is incredible. The album based on this, on Popstar, the movie too, is really funny. If you guys haven't listened to the Lonely Island's music and you're into stuff like Popstar, I think you'd really love it. It's all kind of the same absurdist, bizarre stuff, which I really personally enjoy. But yeah, these are two top tier musical mockumentary movies. And to me, they stand out. Of course, Christopher Guest has done other musical mockumentaries as well. But like, if you consider that its own subgenre, these are the standard bearers, in my opinion.
And I wouldn't have thought Popstar would have been in that category, but it is just so well done that. Because when I first saw trailers for it, back in the day, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be funny," because I love Lonely Island and Andy Samberg. And then you watch the movie, you're like, "Wow, this is way better than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah. I had never seen it until just now to watch it for the podcast, and I had low expectations. Let's just say that, but I enjoyed it very much. It was like you said, much better than I expected, and it was very fun.
The tip of a Transformer's dick.
Yeah, and they did one of the things that Popstar does really well that they couldn't really do with This Is Spinal Tap is the setups, and just when they give him the helmet to put on, and the whole let me back up real quick, but the whole storyline with the DJ slowly. I mean, the ways they keep working to push him further and further into the background to the point where he is nothing more than pushing play on the iPad, and he's got his helmet on, and no one knows he's even there. It's such a funny way to get someone out of your band without getting them out of your band. But
you use all this equipment for the show? Oh no! I use this 60 gig iPod.
60 gig.
Got 60 gigs on it.
I got Harry Potter in there.
Yeah.
But when he gives them the helmet with the light beam coming out of it, you can't wait for the payoff. You're like, well, that's gonna cause some problems later on, and you're just waiting for it.
What is that sound from?
War of the Worlds, Spielberg War of the Worlds.
Yeah, I was like, I recognize that.
It shines into the crowd, and everyone's like,
So just real quick, Popstar remind me a lot of another favorite comedy of mine, which is Get Him to the Greek. And it's kind of the spiritual sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But all the songs in them, in the movie that Aldous Snow sings are completely ridiculous, but they are so catchy. And I own the soundtrack. It is.
That movie is really funny.
It is brilliant. I
love Russell Brand. He's just like, I love his, just like, he doesn't give a shit. He's one of those guys. He just does whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Correct.
But
I've never seen him do a project where I'm like, he's phoning it in. Like, he's like, nope, I want to do this. I want to be here. And I love that about him.
But
I've never seen him do an interview he didn't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't do stuff that he doesn't want to do, which is admirable, honestly.
Yeah. It's
Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek is another example of a band that was Infant Sorrow is the band that you're talking about.
Yeah,
and that is the band that doesn't actually exist, but yet they exist because they created an album.
Right.
Like,
right. And Lonely Island, I mean, what was their first album? Incredibad, Kyle?
Incredibad.
Yeah, I love that album. Oh my God.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I just re-listened to all their music after we did this, and I forgot how much I enjoyed and played Incredibad to death.
Right.
Turtleneck and Chain is really good too.
Sports.
It's a really good album.
Like a Boss.
Yeah, they're legit comedy hit factory. Like,
yes,
almost every song is fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
they have very few misses.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the round. I want to ask you guys, since I jumped in, is there anything else any of you would like to add to overall? Or
your talking can't go against our time.
Well, we had like 1 minute left.
I know. I'm sorry. I talked a lot. I apologize for my overall.
I just want to check.
These movies are enjoyable as hell. If you haven't seen them, watch both of them.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
They're really fun.
All right. Let's put it to a vote. Andrew.
Can I tie? Is that allowed? I'm going to go with Popstar by a hair.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Kyle.
I hate myself already.
Man, I love Lonely Island so much, and they have been a lot more influential in my adult life, I would say, than Spinal Tap. But watching Spinal Tap again and appreciating the comedy that's going on and the improv that's happening and all the machinery clicking and working together is really astounding and so much fun to watch. So I'm going to vote for Spinal Tap.
Okay. Gabe.
I'm going to have to go with This Is Spinal Tap mostly because they were kind of the originals. They kind of really set up this whole kind of style in a certain way, and it's just they're both really good. It's a hard decision, but I think I'm going to have to give it to the original.
Okay.
I'm regretting my decisions in life. God damn.
Yeah, I agree with Gabe. I think there's no Popstar without This Is Spinal Tap. So I would have to say, This Is Spinal Tap.
Wait, what did you just say, Tom?
This Is Spinal Tap.
No. Before that, you said you.
I have to agree with Gabe.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's unusual. I'll take it though.
That's right. A broken clock is right.
Right.
Can I take my vote back?
You can. Do you want to?
I'm so on the line. I want to say I'm going to switch to Spinal Tap because without it, Popstar wouldn't exist. And I think that is the strongest argument, that it really laid the genre and really put us where we are today to have Popstar. So I will change my vote because I think that's a valid and very strong argument. So because they are just so damn good, both of them. But
okay,
you guys, anybody change their vote after voting?
Yeah,
I felt really bad in my gut because I knew it wasn't right, but it wasn't wrong either.
All right.
How can something that's so right feel so wrong?
I actually text Kyle what the line was Seal. I think we killed Seal.
Yeah.
How do you think I got these wolves?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny that he was able to make fun of himself in that way, you know.
What are you talking about?
How do you think I got these scars? Yeah.
Mariah Carey goes, when I heard the song Humble, it really touched me. And I really related to that because I'm one of the most humblest people I know. I coughed a lung up, I'm pretty sure, because I was laughing so, oh my God.
In Popstar, Seal says he got the scars on his face from wolves. In real life, he got the scars from lupus, an autoimmune disease. The scientific name for wolves is Canis lupus.
Lupus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After
dun, dun, dun.
After this,
that is trivia.
Yep. After Spinal Tap opened, several people told Rob Reiner that they loved the film, but he should have chosen a more well-known band for a documentary.
That's so funny. It's funny that people believe that.
Right.
It's so subtle.
Well, I remember
in its absurdity.
I remember watching it in radio and TV class, and our teacher said, "We're going to watch this movie," and so we just watched it. He didn't give us any. He just said, "We're going to watch this," and he waited till the next day to tell everyone, "You guys know that wasn't a real band. This is a comedy. It's a mockumentary. Those are actors." And I was one of them that thought it was a real band because I'd never heard of them, right? But I still bought the album. And I still have it. You. Yeah, there's still. I like the music.
On the wall by then. And
yeah. All right.
Well, no, if nobody tells you, right, it's hard to know. Mockumentaries are not something we have a lot of experience with generally. No, and in the 80s, this would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to recommendations for this month. Kyle, will you start us off, please?
Yeah, so apparently we got some gatekeepers around here about what you can and can't recommend. So I'm doing a makeup month. I have 2 things to recommend for everybody. The first one being another Lonely Island project. Actually, both of these are things you can watch on Netflix. So check out the unauthorized Bash Brothers Experience, which is the Lonely Island doing probably like a 30-minute nonstop musical about Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco from the Oakland A's when they were crazy jacked on steroids, and it's all about their life and shooting up drugs and being with hot women, and it's really funny. And they're played by Andy Samberg and Akiva Schaffer, who don't look anything like either of these 2 guys, with the exception that one of them has a red beard, and it's really a hell of a lot of fun. And I guess I'll give a third recommendation and lump in a couple other short movies. If you haven't seen, they're on HBO. 7 Days in Hell and Tour de Pharmacy, which are other mockumentaries about sports done by the Lonely Island that are both really good. You get to see John Cena press slam a naked man with his dick out, which to me, I almost pissed myself laughing because I thought this is the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life.
Tour de Pharmacy is hilarious.
Tour de Pharmacy is great, and it's got it's got so many stars in it that are just playing small roles. It's really great. But the other one I want to recommend is a sketch comedy show that's on Netflix, and it's called I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. It is some of the most absurd comedy I've ever seen in my life, and it's probably not for everyone, to be honest. But I absolutely fell in love with it and became obsessed with it. So it's a bit like Monty Python in that some people really, really love it and some people shake their head and don't get it. But for my money, it was a hell of a lot of fun. If you like Mr. Show or other kind of absurdist sketch comedy shows, it might be right up your alley.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Tom. You're muted, Tom.
Can I go last?
Oh, okay. You want to go last? All right, Gabe.
Yeah, sorry.
Who did you say? Did you say me?
Yes.
Well, Mike, tonight I'm going to actually recommend a whiskey. I have a whiskey here in my hands. Maybe you can hear it. Can you hear the bottle?
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
Yes, and it tastes even delicious, sir. It's from a distillery called Rabbit Hole, and it's called High Gold, and it's a straight bourbon whiskey, and it's quite tasty. It has a little bit of a harsh smell to it, but the taste really surprises you after that. It's got a very nice vanilla-y finish to it. It's quite delicious. So I'm going to recommend a whiskey.
Good recommendation, Gabe. Thank you. Andrew.
Tonight, seriously, just recommend a drink. Come on. I got shit for a song. Whatever.
I'm actually connecting mine to Spinal Tap. This is from the 80s, actually. And, Spinal Tap had a lot of really cool pyrotechnics and lots of like stage stuff. So I thought I would recommend Fireball Island. It was a board game that was one of my favorites from the 80s. It was topographical, had all these fireballs, and you would move around with your pieces and try to capture the jewel and then get off the island. And they don't make it much anymore. I saved my allowance for it, but it's probably one of my favorites. So I'm recommending Fireball Island, the board game.
They actually re-released it.
I saw that. It's not as good a quality though.
Yeah, somebody bought it. So.
Very, very good recommendation, Andrew.
Okay,
Tom.
Okay. Well, I don't think you guys are being very fair to Kyle. So I'm gonna. I would like to recommend a movie, Breakfast Cereal. My recommendation
this is a fucking conspiracy. What is going on?
My recommendation is Frozen 2 cereal from Kellogg's. The multicolored leaf marshmallows reflect the fall, and frost depicted in the film, while soft white marshmallows and marshmallow carrot noses can be put together to build your own Olaf right at the breakfast table. The cereal also provides a good source of 7 vitamins and minerals to help you get a great start on your day. Not just for breakfast, though. Kellogg's Disney's Frozen 2 cereal is a tasty and nutritious addition to any meal or snack any time of the day. You can enjoy some cereal as a crunchy snack with friends after school, or share some around the table while playing board games, or bring out a box of fun Frozen 2 cereal as a late night treat at your next sleepover. Kellogg's Disney's Frozen 2 cereal also makes a great addition to your favorite yogurt, or as the base for a homemade trail mix. The mouth-watering options are endless.
Thank you, Tom.
Wow.
This is a very good recommendation.
This is unprofessional bullshit.
Kellogg's, Milton Bradley, and whiskey. This is the best podcast ever.
Well, my recommendation for this month is something that you don't normally realize till someone else does it, and it's the smell of fresh cut grass. Do you ever notice, like when you're cutting the grass yourself, you don't really smell that, but if your neighbor or if you drive through somewhere and someone is mowing, you get that fresh cut smell of grass, and it just reminds you of spring and summer, and it's just wonderful. Unless you have allergies, of course. But
Mike,
sounds.
That's a good smell.
I think you recommended that like 3 episodes ago.
Oh, did I?
No, maybe not. I don't know. You always have such good recommendations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I like fresh cut grass. Yeah.
Fresh cut grass is great, but it's no Frozen 2 cereal.
That's true. That's true. You guys had some pretty solid recommendations.
I think we should all get together, play Fireball Island, have some Frozen 2 cereal, drink some whiskey, and
mow
smoke some grass. Or mow some grass. Mow some grass. I forgot what state I was in. I've been on the...
All right, let's poke the monkey. Find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is... This is Spinal Tap!
I've never been more upset with you guys. I just want to know that. I've been bamboozled. I've been hoodwinked. I've been put upon.
I believe Tom said at the end of the last show that you have no idea what you brought upon yourself.
You know what? And for the record, I was not a fan of this idea. I went along and played with it because I thought recommending a movie cereal would be hilarious. But I have been at the center of this same controversy when I recommended you assholes. So Kyle, I'm really sorry. I hope you know that my joke comes from a place of love, and the rest of these assholes comes from a place of loathing. I love you.
This must be what being on Ashton Kutcher's Punk'd is like. You're the only one not in on it.
I will say that I really appreciate that you went all out and actually recommended.
Yeah, if only to dig my own grave.
What? You recommended enough for all of us.
Yeah.
No shit.
You want to know? You don't want to know how pissed off I am? I was literally standing up at the movie theater last night, walking out a Free Guy, and Mike texts and be like, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna do this thing tomorrow," and I'm like, "Come the fuck on!" I just have a great recommendation. I just walked out of a great movie.
I actually worked in 2 recommendations into when I was talking to you guys, which was Get Into the Greek and Hot Rod. So,
yeah.
Nice.
That's insane.
You sneaky bastard.
Anyway, Spinal Tap won. And Andrew, thank you for changing your vote because then we didn't have a tie.
Oh.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was already Spinal Tap.
Crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. Like Kyle, you recommended this, didn't you?
What's that?
When we were making our episode list, I believe you were the one that recommended this.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember now.
But I was like, Popstar, really? Like, I hadn't seen it. And I'm like, against Spinal Tap? Really? And then I watched it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. It works.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we didn't talk about, there's some stuff in Spinal Tap that didn't age very well. But it's not Blazing Saddle bad, but there's some stuff in there where it's just kind of like, but so.
No, Blazing Saddles is still the greatest comedy ever made.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That is not.
It still works today as much as it did back then.
No, I'm sorry. It does not.
Yes, it does.
Young Frankenstein's way funnier.
Young Frankenstein's up there, but Blazing Saddles
Airplane.
No.
Some Like It Hot.
Chung, chung, chung. No. Ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Now that the tomfoolery has
Don't put my name on this shit.
Yeah, this is powerful.
Yeah, this was all Tom's idea, by the way.
No, it's my foolery.
Tom Haggis.
Yeah.
We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For October, we grab our Twinkies and our pints to fight off Zombieland versus Shaun of the Dead.
Holy shit, that's going to be good.
For Gabe, Tom, Kyle, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
The review you had on Shark Sandwich, which was merely a 2-word review, just said, shit sandwich.
It's only 9 o'clock. I thought we were going to go to 11.
By the way, I wanted to point out that if you go to IMDb for Spinal Tap, it is the only movie that has a rating that goes to 11.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.